I am going to be doing my wrap up for the month of October. This is gonna be like such a strange wrap up because almost everything I read came from one single author. So there's that. I went completely off script this month. I had a TBR. I had all these books I wanted to read, like some spooky books and some horror, and I'm like, you know what, fuck it. I went completely off script and went full mood reader and read pretty much 9 books by one author. But you know what? It was a good freaking month. We're just gonna go with it because I enjoyed every single minute of every book that I read by this author. So we're gonna start. I'm not gonna have my normal like least to highest so much because I pretty much loved everything. We're just gonna go in and talk about everything that I read, give you some feelings, and we're just gonna see how it goes. This might be super like long and rambly, so I'm sorry. Off with the only 2 books that I read that were by different authors, and the first one was actually my worst book of the month, and that is The Haunted Vagina, which, if you don't know, I lost a bet. I failed my blindfold bookshelf challenge, so I had to read this work of literary fiction. It was a trip, y'all. I gave it 1 star because you can't give it lower than that on Goodreads. But I would if I could. If you want to see my entire experience reading that, I did an entire like vlog style video where I had set up my camera and read. From beginning to end, I filmed myself reading all 86 pages of this monstrosity. And it was an experience. So if you want like full spoilers, me being weirded out, a little disturbed, just the weirdest reading vlog you've probably ever seen, like check it out because it was a trip and I did this so you don't have to. The next book that I did read was Horrid by Katrina Leno. I gave this 4 stars. I really enjoyed it. I read this for my Reading Owl Crate books vlog that I'll link for you, but it was a good time and it was surprising because it is not my normal genre. I normally am not like reading a lot of horror, and while this is YA horror, it's not super like gory or scary by any means. It was still a good time. It was very much a haunted house story. It was fun to read. It read really quickly. I read this in I think 2 days. This is the Owl Crate version, obviously, because I did a Reading Owl Crate blog. But I would definitely read more from this author after reading this because it was a really good time. It had a really cool open ending that like kind of got me at the end, and it was like a what the fuck moment. Like I was not expecting that, but it happened and they went there. But it was really good. I recommend this book if you like kind of like spookier, haunted ghost stories, but don't want like gore and like too much, because I thought this was just the right amount of spooky for me. Next, we are moving into The Schwab. Like I said, went off script and read 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 V.E. Schwab books this month. 9. So that makes this like a really good reading month because I read 11 books. So there's that. But yes, 9 V.E. Schwab books. Like what? Who am I? I'm pretty sure V.E. Schwab might be my new favorite author. Like she's up there with Brando Sando right now. So I mean, I had a good time. A really, really good time. The first ones I want to talk about are Gathering of Shadows and Conjuring of Light. These are books 2 and 3 in the Darker Shades of Magic series. I had already read the first book, so I decided to finish the series this month, and I absolutely loved it. I gave both of these 5 stars. Looking back, I want to say that Gathering of Shadows might be more of a 4-star. Like, I liked it, but Conjuring of Light, the last book in the series, that ending, the culmination, like fucking perfect, okay? I understand not everybody likes V.E. Schwab. She has a very unique writing style to her, and she does a lot of characters, I guess, that seem really similar to each other between her books. But you know what? To me, that's fine. I really loved Kel. I love all the characters in this. Like, I love Kel. I love Lila. I loved Rye and Alucard. Like, I just want to be in this world. And when I found out that she was writing a continuation, I just got so excited. Like, what? I need more Kel and Lila, and like, I need more of this world. So I'm really, really thrilled that she's doing that. I know the biggest complaint is that Lila is not like other girls, but you know what? It doesn't bother me. I've decided that that's a trope that just doesn't bother me 90% of the time. I liked Lila. She was a badass, and she still had her like soft girl moments with Kel. So I'm like, where's the problem? I love her. I can't really go too much into depth about these because it'll spoil the first book, and I definitely don't want to do that because I want you to read it. Basically, we are in a world where there are multiple Londons. There is Black London, Grey London, White London, Red London, and very, very few people can travel between the Londons, like interdimensional travel basically. And basically stuff starts happening when dark magic basically from Black London starts seeping into the rest of the world. And that's kind of the plot of the first book. And then we continue on and save the world a couple times. So read this. It's really, really good. My only complaint was book 2 was a little bit slower for me. There was some really good character building, which I liked, but it was just a little bit slower. There was some aspects of like the main cast of characters being very divided and split up and not on page together, which I prefer when they're all like working together and on page together, and I like that much more. But there were some really awesome character developments. One of my favorite characters was introduced in this book, and that is Alucard, and he is fucking phenomenal. So yes, I had a good time. 4 stars, 5 stars. The next one that I read is still in that Darker Shades of Magic family, and that is The Steel Prince. This is a graphic novel that is a prequel to this universe, the Darker Shade of Magic universe. This actually follows King Maxim, who is the father of Kel and Rye, back when he was just Prince Maxim, the Steel Prince. And it was really cool getting to see some of his backstory in this, because he was one of my least favorite characters. Him and his wife were like 2 of my least favorite characters, like up until the very end of the 3rd book, really. But after reading their character development in the 3rd book and then seeing a little bit more of the dad in this graphic novel, like I kind of understand it more. I definitely want to continue on. I really like the artwork in this. I gave it a 3 stars. It was very, very short. I read it in like an hour, which is fine. It's a graphic novel, but like the artwork is so cool. And I will definitely be picking up more of these. She has a bunch of these graphic novels set in the Darker Shades world with him, so I'm definitely going to be picking up more of them. So I also read her Cassidy Blake series, which right now is only 2 books, and it is middle grade, and that is City of Ghosts and Tunnel of Bones. I really liked both of these. Obviously, they are middle grade. They read really fast. They're a little bit more simplistic world building wise than her others. Duh, it's middle grade. Like I I can't judge middle grade the same way I would judge an adult book. Does that make sense? Like, I can't. So this was super, super cute. It is about a girl named Cassidy who falls into a frozen lake and basically dies. But she is brought back. She is saved by the ghost of a boy named Jacob. And ever since her near-death experience, she can see ghosts, which is ironic because her parents are paranormal investigators. And they end up taking off during summer break to travel the world for this TV show that they're filming to the most haunted places in the world. And this book, the first one, is set in Edinburgh, and the second one is set in Paris. And they are both just adorable. Like, I would save these for my daughter to read when she gets a little older. Obviously she's 7 right now. She's not quite at middle grade age, but like in a couple years, I'm gonna be like, hey Willow, here you go, I got you. So, I mean, they're so cute. Like, the girl is like 13 in the book, so it's juvenile, but it's so cute. I gave them both 5 stars. I really enjoyed them. I'm excited for the next one to come out. I think it comes out this coming year, 2021, and I'm pretty sure it's set in England. It might be London. I'd have to look. I'm pretty sure it's set in London. But each book takes place over the course of like a week. So this is like during her summer break from school. I read these super fast, like in 2 days. So I'm really, really excited to get to them. I do think that this one, Tunnel of Bones, was better than the first one, just because obviously there's a lot of setup in this book. There's a lot of getting to know your cast of characters. And of course they're reintroduced in this to you in the beginning, but the way it's done, I think, is really well done, especially when looking at it through the lens of a middle grade reader. Because obviously you have to look at it through the lens of who it's written for. Like, this isn't written for adults who read high fantasy. This is written for, you know, 12 to 14-year-olds who read middle grade. And I just thought it was really well done. And it was still really freaky. Like, it's pretty spooky for a middle grade book. I also read the first book in the Monsters of Verity YA series that Victoria Schwab did. This one is This Savage Song. That is the very first book. And again, I enjoyed it. I gave this, I believe, like 4 stars. It was good. Again, one of the main complaints, I think, with all of V.E. Schwab's writing is that there is a strong not like other girls trope. Our main female character in this could definitely fall under the not like other girls trope. But you know what? I don't care. I liked her. So there's that. I mean, maybe I'm not like other girls. Like, maybe I just like that trope. Like, I don't know. But it was done in a way that it's not putting down other girls. She's just different. But she's different for a reason. Like, our main character, Kate, in this is the daughter of like the head of half of this city called Verity. And then our boy main character is the son of the head of the other half of the city. And they're basically at war. They don't get along. Kate's dad is kind of an ass. And basically he's kind of like a mob boss. Like, he makes you pay for protection, and it's just, he's not a good human. And then August, his dad, is a good guy, more or less, right? Like, he's the good guy, the good side, and like that's the bad side. But like, it's still, there's a lot of gray lines there, so that's nice. It's not like extremely good or extremely bad, which again is another thing I've noticed about V.E. Schwab's writing, is that it is not heavily good or bad. She does a lot of gray areas, which I appreciate. Like in this, one of our main characters is a monster born out of violence. But he's one of our good characters. But is he? You know what I mean? Like, he steals people's souls by playing music, but it's only souls that have been tainted by violence. And our main girl character is, you know, the daughter of this mob boss, basically. But she's not really a shitty human, but like, she does some pretty messed up things to try to get her dad's like attention. and approval, and it's just well done. They end up, our main like boy, August, ends up kind of going undercover to the school in the other half of the city, and that's where he meets Kate, and he's supposed to be spying for his family, but really he ends up making a friend, and kind of chaos ensues from there. But we come to find out that like he is this monster who consumes souls by playing music, but like I said, he can only consume souls that have been tainted, and he wants to be human so bad, but he is not. But he passes for human in this world where monsters are real, and different kinds of monsters are born out of different kinds of acts of violence. And I just thought it was really well done, and I loved it. I also really like that there is strong friendship in this, and there is not a central romance. I like that. I think V.E. Schwab actually does romance really well, because she does like romance light. Like even in the Darker Shades of Magic series, there is romance. There's a couple of romances, but they're not like front and center most important thing in the book. They're very in the background, and like they're important, but it's not the main plot point of the book. Like it doesn't feel forced. They feel very simple and very easy. And I like that. And I like that there's like no romance in this one. So yay, definitely pick this one up. I also started the second book, Our Dark Duet, but I haven't gotten very far into it, so I don't really have thoughts. It picks up pretty close after the end of this one. So I'm excited. I'm definitely reading more of this. This is on my list to finish. All right, so then I picked up the Villains duology, which will eventually be a trilogy, and that is Vicious and Vengeful, again by V. Schwab. If you noticed, like this and Darker Shade is written as from V.E. Schwab, and then the Cassidy Blake series and Monsters of Verity are written as Victoria Schwab, and that is so we can differentiate between her adult work and her YA middle grade work. When it is YA middle grade, it is written as Victoria. When it is adult, it is VE. The more you know. I adored the Villains duology. This might be one of my favorites. Specifically Vicious, the first book. I fell in love with Victor Vale. This book, everyone is morally gray, like leaning on the side of not good. Like they're leaning on the darker side of morally gray, and I just ate this shit up. We follow Victor and Eli, who start out as two college students working on thesis papers, and Eli decides he wants to do his thesis on EOs, which is extraordinary people who have powers basically, and they discover that near-death experiences is what gives people powers, so they decide to manufacture this and to basically kill each other and themselves to see if they can get powers, and lo and behold, they do. And then the book kind of picks up like 10 years later, and Victor is like escaping from prison to try to hunt down Eli, because they're now have gone from being like best friends to mortal enemies, and it's just so well done. It's written kind of choppily. So what I mean by that is the timeline. So what it is it starts, it's like the chapters are all named in time. So like 4 years ago, 3 years ago, 2 years ago, 10 years ago, 2 weeks ago. So that's kind of how it's written, and it jumps. You jump timeline wise, which doesn't bother me. I've heard some people don't like that, but it didn't bother me personally. I actually thought it kind of kept me on the edge of my seat and kept me guessing, and oh my god, what's going on? Whose story are we gonna get next? Like, it was just really well done. I really liked this book, and it could definitely be read as a standalone. And the way it ended, it was open enough to continue the series, but it was definitely closed enough to be a really good standalone. But you know, I'm a completionist. So then I had to pick up Vengeful, which I gave 4 stars. I didn't like it as much as Vicious. It's a lot bigger though, but we get more perspectives. We get new characters. There's like 2 new characters in particular in this book. One that I adored and one that I like hated, but like in a good way. Like, ooh, this bitch is bad. But is she really? Again, with the morally gray characters, like none of them were like fully evil or fully good. Except for like one character that's like a little bit more on the good side, which is Sydney, who is also in Vicious. Everyone's just an asshole and I love it. Again, I didn't like it quite as much because of the introduction of so many new characters and some of the things that Victor specifically did in this book, I wasn't as big of a fan of. Like, didn't fully make sense to me. Like, there were, I'll spoil it if I tell you, but there was a couple like decisions made by Victor that I just didn't think that Victor would have made. We'll put it that way. Again though, I loved it. Read them. They're great. And I will read the 3rd one whenever she finishes that. And the final book, the final V.E. Schwab, I think might have been my favorite. I keep saying that about all of them, but this book hit me so hard and it was so different than the rest of her books. And that is The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. I loved this. I flew through it. This is definitely more historical fiction than fantasy. It definitely has fantastical elements, don't get me wrong. It's about a girl that makes a deal with the darkness in order to live forever. But what do you exchange for a soul and live forever? Like, it's a whole thing. So there's definitely fantastical elements, but it's not like magic heavy, fantastical, anything like that, like Darker Shades would be. So like Darker Shades of Magic is super fantastical and magic heavy. This is very minimal. I would definitely consider this more magical realism than fantasy, probably, and definitely more historical fiction because we go through the years with Addie. We go through 300 years of her living a forgotten life where she can live forever, but as soon as she's like out of sight from somebody, they don't remember her or they don't remember meeting her. So she can basically never leave a mark on the world, but she kind of figures out how she can leave a mark on the world without being remembered. And it's just a beautiful story. And then one day someone remembers and she is completely thrown off. She doesn't know how to handle it. It's just so well done. I loved it. I cried quite a bit near the end of this book and it was just a beautiful ending. It is definitely a standalone. V.E. Schwab herself has said that there will be no sequels to Addie LaRue. It is a standalone. It was meant to be a standalone. That's it. It's done. Which I appreciate because the ending, again, is not tied up in this pretty little bow of perfection. It's kind of open, but not open enough to make me be like, dude, that's a cliffhanger. I need to know what happens. It's just a beautiful ending and a beautiful story. If you can't tell, I gave this 5 stars. It's definitely not going to be everyone's cup of tea. I completely understand that. But for me, it hit all my notes and I loved it so, so much. And this is the Owl Crate, like, beautiful edition, which, again, I just think is fantastic. I think they did a great job with it. Yes, this might have been my favorite book of the month. All right, that is everything that I read in the month of October. Or should we say Schwabtober? I will actually have a Schwabtober reading vlog coming very soon with like real thoughts, like as I'm reading. But y'all, it's a long one, so be prepared when that comes out that it's gonna be this like super long reading vlog where I talk about 10 different books basically. hopefully you enjoyed this. I had a lot of fun. October was a great reading month. Let me know if you've read any of these, what your thoughts are on them, like what other V.E. Schwab books should I pick up? Because that's not all of them. She's written like 20 books and I obviously have only read like 10, 11 of them. So I have many more V.E. Schwab books to read in my future. Alright, well, I'm Jessie. Thank you for hanging out with me. I make videos every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday, and I will see you next time. Bye.